Hey there YouTube, AJ here, and I'm feeling better. Not very sick at all. Pretty much think I got it mostly kicked. So let's try to knock out these radius rods real quick, and then we're going to take our Model A pieces and build our torque arm since we don't have a torque tube. Make sense? Does to me. Let's get to it. Okay, so we've got our bracket welded together, extended. We've welded the slug to the bung. Now we got to go and match this piece up. That's going to be in between. That's the part the length we have to extend the radius rods themselves. But first we got to go on there, down there, match it up, make sure we're still at a good length now that everything's nice and solid together at this point. And we may have to do some trimming here to get this the perfect length, and then we can weld this to that and weld this into the radius rod. Okay, well, I got smart, put a jack underneath my pinion to hold it at the angle I need. I cut 2 spacers out of conduit, put them between the jam nut and the end of the bung. That way I can keep both of my tie rod ends the same length. And now we're going to go ahead and try to get this bracket tacked into place, and with these held with the spacer at the right length they need to be for thread engagement in the bung. Then once I get this all in place, I can easily measure the gap here that I need to cut these extensions down to for the perfect fit. So first thing first, we're going to try to get this side tacked into place. This is going to be a little bit difficult to hold, clamp, and weld, but we're going to try it. And yes, we're going to have to do the squint and hope here. Am I completely missing it? I can't tell. Now let's get my helmet so I can try to see a little better. All right. Yeah. Okay, we got our tack good enough, it's going to hold in place. So that's good. Yeah, that's good and solid. Alright. Well, not great and solid, but good, decently solid there. Maybe we could throw another tack up here. Alright, that should hold her until we're ready to weld everything together. Now we got to do the other side. Okay, well, these brackets are tacked in good enough for now. I did not get these cut to the same length apparently, because something's a little off. Maybe I need to check my rear end for square before we go too much further. Make sure we're still square back there. There we go. Basically this spacer needs to be a lot smaller than this one. That's why I'm saying that. So I think I'm going to go do, before we cut these spacers, I think I'm going to go ahead and recheck my rear end for squareness. Okay, well, my rear end had gotten a little bit twisted when I undid my radius rods. So this one, I needed to kick this driver's side rear tire backwards a little bit and we're pretty close now. So we're going to cut both our spacers. I bet you it's like 1 inch, which is what I said originally, and I went a little longer on purpose just so I'd have extra to play with. Alright, so 3/4 of an inch. And then, yeah, so I'm going to go cut these both at 3/4 of an inch, as square as I can. And we will probably have to re-square off these. And yeah, I think we'll get there. So I'll go cut those and be back. Okay, we've got our spacers cut down. Gotta sit these, it goes this way. Put these up here. Hopefully these will all fit, right? Alright. Now, okay, the battery died, but we got our mounts in. Turns out the driver's side one was 1/4 inch longer than the passenger side one. So I was having trouble getting that one in because my spacer was 1/4 inch too long. And anyway, so I had to retrim that spacer down to 1/2 inch instead of 3/4. Now we got it in there. Everything's tacked in good and solid. And I think we can move on to part B of this plan, which is take my Model A radius rods, bend the tangs down there to match up with the differential, and then run them to the front and weld a tab onto the rear radius to the main radius rods and triangulate the two together. I don't know if that makes sense from what you're looking at, but I guess the first thing to do is make this end fit that. So let's go do that. So I got these bolts. They're longer than the original bolts that go into the differential, and they had to be longer to compensate for the depth of the steel ears here. Now, the holes in these are bigger than the holes in the differential. I don't really want it that loose, so got these little bushings to put in the holes. However, the bushings aren't quite big enough for the bolt to just slide through. So the first thing we got to do is modify these bushings to fit these bolts. I've already broken 2 of these trying to learn how to do this. Now I was successful on 2. So here's the deal. I only have 2 left, so I got to make these work. So the first thing we're going to do is put these into the, what do you call this, the vise here. Then we're going to drill them out, hopefully without breaking them. So with that drilled out, it's still not big enough to go through, which I did on purpose because I'm going to tap these and then thread these onto the bolt. That way the bushing is part of the bolt. And now we have a bushing with threads inside of it, custom made for our bolt, which now makes our bolt fit nice and snug in our hole. The next thing we got to do is make these ears the right distance that they can bolt onto the differential. I made this pattern off the differential, and you can see with one bolt already in the ear, we don't want to bend this one. I'm going to try to just bend the bottom one up to where it'll go into that hole. So to do that, we're going to have to use some heat and try to bend this that way. got these bent down. They're looking pretty symmetrical to one another, but these holes should be pretty close to matching, if not matching. We'll have to wait until it cools down and we can actually try it on the diff, but for now that's good. The one thing we do need to do now is, in order to clear the pinion on the diff, we need to leave this angle here, but up in this area we need to bend these back so they come off straighter. Right now they're shooting outside of the car, so we need to bring them back over top of the other radius rods. I think to do that I'm going to put it in the vise. Let's see if we can do this without catching stuff on fire. The idea is to bend this back up here to where it's parallel to the flanges down here. These are going to have to cool down, so before I can even try to fit them and see what we need to do next, but yeah, we're going to have to let these cool for a while, so I think that's going to be it for the day. If we put these end to end, side to side now, you can see they're much straighter, looking pretty similar. I need to take these pieces off, so maybe I can do that real quick, but yeah, they're looking pretty good in terms of mirroring one another. And yeah, I think we need to try to bolt them up and see where they cross. I know they're going to be too long, so we're going to have to cut these back off some more, but I think I'll try to take these off and we'll end the day, let these cool, and tomorrow we'll come out and we'll try to see if we can get them on the car. Okay, so it's the next day. We're cooled off. I've got both of my Model A radius arms bolted in the top bolt. They're both about the same distance here. They both need this bottom arm bent just a little further up so we can get to the hole. It's less than 1/8, I think, but not much at all. So we got to do that. Also, because of the way the angle of this bell is, we're going to need to come in here. Oh, let me get my marker and just mark that. So what we're going to have to do is come in on the back side and basically just give a little relief, so to try to match the back side of this to the angle of this. Same thing up here, although this one's got a little more. So the tail end of these tabs are going to need to be ground a little thinner from the back side, so that matches up. Up here on the front end, originally I was thinking putting a tab, obviously a lot shorter, you know, something like that, then using the tie rod in the Model A arm to bolt the two together. And that still may be the way I go, I'm not sure yet. However, while I was looking at it, I kind of got this idea here. What if I put the tie rod end directly in here and use the tie rod end to bolt my transmission ears to my transmission mount? Definitely would look a lot cleaner, but I would have to taper this ear on the transmission to match the taper on the tie rod end. I think this would be okay. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is I would break my ears on my transmission, which would definitely not be good. I'm thinking I might want to try that. If this doesn't work, I can always shorten these arms again and attach them here. Okay, so first we're going to go ahead and cut this to the length we marked for our tie rod end. Alright, so that is going to go in there like that, except for we're going to have to squish it and expand it a little bit. Alright, well, I had to open that up quite a bit further than I thought I was going to, but we can put a piece in there and weld it. It'll be fine. Okay, down here at this end, I should have done this from the get-go, but I took a piece of steel and made a pattern. Originally I had a cardboard pattern. Well, in the last go around that thing went up in flames, so it didn't work. So now I just need to bend this to where it matches up with this. Okay, now I think these are going to be pretty close to fitting. So what we got to do now is on the back side here, dish this part here to match the bell on the axle tube. Okay, time to see how we did. Let's start by putting our tie rod into our transmission mount. We'll see if we got our mounts right this time. That's one. Alright, well, these don't want to be up there for the transmission mount. I would have to really taffy pull the end to make it work. I'd have to stretch it in order to get it over there, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to instead go back to my original plan of mounting these on the tops here. And we're going to do that by locating these. All right, let's try this again. I think we're going to go with that. Okay, so now we got to pull these back off, cut them, refit the ends, and see how we did. Okay, so never mind that one bolt that doesn't match. We'll fix that later. We got it. We got our torque arms mounted to the diff. Coming up front here, you can see we're going to mount them on top of our rear radius rods. And if we look up here, now what we need to do is kind of contour that tab to match our radius rod, because it's going to be going over it, so I need to put a curve in the bottom of them before I tack them on there. So let's get a marker. That's not a marker. All right, so this is our original bung for the tie rod end. I made a little cardboard pattern. This arch is so it can sit at an angle over top of the radius rod. And then we've got one cut out here. So we're going to cut out the other one like this. And maybe we're ready to tack it together. We'll see. Okay. Now over here to this side. There we go. I'm gonna have to angle it up a little bit to get enough clearance. All right, I think we're ready to tack this one into place. Oh, come on now. Let's hope this works. Alright, let's get my helmet so we can try to get this in a little better. Okay, go over to the other side. There's our torch. All right. Okay, so we've got our mounts in here, and yes, we still need to do all of our bracing. This is all just tacked together. When I take the body off, that's when I'll weld this all solid and weld in all my extra supports and gussets and stuff like that. But as you can see here, we have our rear radius rod coming up to the cross member. We have our torque arms coming from the differential. Back here, we got torque arms attached to the differential coming up, going out, and got tabs welded onto the top of the radius rods. All that's pretty good and solid. This is not welded here, that's why that's moving. But like this one's nice and solid. Everything feels good right now. So when we go to take this apart, we will reinforce all this, so hopefully nothing ever breaks. Overall, I think it looks pretty good. I think it's interesting, unique to do the torque arms out of these Model A arms. I've never seen that done before. I'm sure most people throw them away because they're not super strong, but I don't think they're going to need to be super strong for what I'm doing here. And again, I will be welding the seam on the top, and that'll strengthen these up a lot. So, thanks for watching. I don't know, let me know what you think. Is this going to work? Is this just stupid? Is it a waste of time? Or is it not a bad idea? I don't know. I'm curious to know what you guys all think out there. If you think at all. I think, if nothing else, I think it looks kind of trick, actually. I've never seen anything like it, so you know, it looks better than just a single piece of tubing running from the top of your diff down to the cross member or to the top of your radius rods. I don't know. I think it looks kind of cool. I think it'll look really good once it gets all painted up. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on it. Thanks for watching. Hope you found it interesting, or yeah, if you think it's stupid, tell me. With that, we're going to call this mocked up, not done, to be finished later. Yes, like I've got a ton of welding to do on this frame when the body comes off, so that's all part of it. Next time, we're probably not going to be crawling around on the floor. I'm going to be done with this for a while because I'm tired of laying on the floor and getting up and down and all that. So I think next time when we come back, we're going to be working up top and starting the work on the back half of the touring cab, the passenger compartment in the rear, and you know, strengthening that up, getting it ready for all that bracing, and putting in the floor that isn't there, that's going to be underneath the seat. That'll be, I guess, the, what do you call that? I guess it's not the floor, but you know, the pan underneath the seat. So until then, thanks for watching. Later, YouTube.